Hey everybody, how's everyone doing today? I just wanted to touch base with you about something pretty exciting that's happening on the website. A lot of folks have asked, I wear the shirts. I got the shirts for my visibility on the road. I certainly don't want to be clipped off by some distracted driver or something like that. But a lot of people have asked how they can get a shirt, and we are going to kind of sell them for some fundraising while I'm gone. Help me pay some bills around the house and things like that. Um, by I think the end of today, we'll have a link set up where you'll be able to go on and get the shirts, order them shirts on a secured PayPal line. I won't see, or nobody else, in fact, will see any of the credit card information, but I will get an email with your name and address and your delivery address, and we'll have the shirt mailed directly to your home. So anybody that wants that or has asked about that, greatly appreciate it. There's a part of me that hopes as this journey takes off and starts to head across the country that, weeks from now, months from now, as I walk into towns, there's some folks with the shirt and that they get the concept of what I'm trying to do and why I'm doing it. So really appreciate that. That's exciting to announce. Next thing though is yesterday I had kind of teased that I was going to talk about maybe some serious topics that people have been asking me about, and I found that there's a lot of topics, five or six, that really people are passionate about. I mean, passionate, and one of them is politics, as you can see by any site you go on these days. Just the trolling, the hatred, the support. It's just a back and forth thing with the president. Religion is always something that people are passionate about. There are others, but the topic I'm going to talk about today and share my opinions and thoughts on is there's two things I want to do today. One is I want to talk about the topic and something that changed how I view it, okay? And then secondly, I want to share a story that happened this past winter and how I handle it as a parent. And I think it's a good thing, and I'm proud of the way I did it. And maybe somebody sees something and says, hey, that might work for me. Maybe there's a young parent out there that would see it that way. I don't know. I'm sure there are people that say, hey, he's crazy for doing that. But this video will probably run pretty long, probably be in two parts as a result, because I think the subject matter kind of tends to take it there. So anyway, the topic that I'm talking about today is abortion, and it's funny because abortion is something that affects politics and your stance, whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, and certainly your religious beliefs are impacted by that. So as a late teen, early adult, I will tell you that my mindset was I was pro-life. In fact, one of the few platforms I voted upon was pro-life versus pro-choice. Now, I will ask everybody before you, because again, people seem to be so passionate about this that there's in their mind maybe a winner and a loser. So, before anybody wants to throw anything at their computer screen right now and they hear that and say, "Oh, you're wrong," or anybody wants to jump for joy and say, "Hey, he gets it," and I believe in him, hear everything I have to say about it, please, because again, I'm not here to sermonize to folks, but as I talk, I'm here to give food for thought, and I hope that folks will, I don't know what to say, but will at least process what I'm saying and see if they share the thought, disagree with the thought, have ever thought from that perspective, whatever. But anyway, so as I was saying, early in my early adulthood, I was absolutely a pro-choice person. And the truth is, I don't really necessarily know why I was pro-choice. It wasn't something I was passionate about to the sense that this, uh, um, was in my mind every day or anything like that. But I just think, knowing who I am, that I think back then I viewed a fetus as part of the woman, and I don't think anybody, or I didn't think anybody had a right to tell any person, woman or male, what they should do with their body. So that was my mindset then, okay? But something happened in the mid 90s that caused me to think about it. And maybe I will say, well, I didn't think about it every day. I was pretty firm in my belief, so I was pretty passionate at that time. But that's how I felt. In the mid 90s, something took place that made the news. There was a young couple from New Jersey. I think her name was Amy Amy Grossberg, and her boyfriend's name was Brian something, I'm not sure. But they were from pretty well-to-do families, and I might not have all the facts of the story right. This is just going from memory, but I think that she got pregnant, was afraid to tell her family, and she was going to school in Delaware, if I remember correctly, and essentially she gave birth to the baby, and the two of them, I don't know who did what, but the two of them basically put a live couple of hour old baby into a dumpster and let it perish. And when I heard that story, I thought, how appalling, how egregious. I hope these two get everything legally thrown at them that can possibly be thrown at them. I was completely passionate about my anger for such a blatant disregard for a human life, you know. And I said all the things that most people would say. If you don't want it, put it up for adoption, you know, all those kind of things. I don't know the reasoning. I don't know them personally. I don't know what went through their mind to cause them to do that. Again, I don't really judge. You know, I don't know if it was fear of not being accepted at home by the parents. I don't know if there was a medical issue. I don't know what the rationale was. All I do know is that these two young people took an hours-old living being and treated it with the blatant disregard and threw it in a dumpster. And it really, really had me fired up. I think it's appalling. But that got me to thinking. And that got me to thinking about this. What was different about that baby 1 hour after being out of a woman's body versus an hour before when that baby was in, or let's even say 6 months or 7 months before when that fetus was in that woman? You know, I had to reconcile in my mind that a fetus of 3 months inside a female, to me, was okay. I was perfectly, at that point in my life, fine with that baby being terminated. But 1 hour outside of being delivered, that same baby has, frankly, no friends, no relationship, no attachment to anybody. But yet I was so convinced and passionate that it was a destruction of life. So it gave me food for thought. And again, it was a life-changing moment for me. I'm not here to crusade for either way, pro-choice or pro-life. But for me, internally, it caused me to question, why was I pro-choice? What differentiated life? Right? What made a 3-month-old fetus be okay in my mind to be terminated, but a 3-minute-old baby not okay to be terminated? And I didn't have an answer, and that's the crux of this conversation. I didn't have an answer. Again, if you know me, I really believe that I'm the least judgmental person in the world. Of course, one of my favorite shows to watch is Dr. Phil, and he claims he is, and I'm not going to step on his toes. Certainly, he knows a lot more than I do. I have a problem with anybody that hurts children in any kind of way, and in this way here in particular. Anytime I hurt a child, then I do judge. I draw the line with children. I think they're our world, you know, and they're our future. And they didn't ask. That's the thing about kids. You know, they don't get to pick their family. They don't get to pick when and how they come into the world. They don't have a say in that matter. We choose that stuff for them, and then we kind of say, hey, here's this giant ocean called life, you know, go navigate it. So, again, I try not to judge, so I don't know what was going on in these young people's minds that caused them to do this, but I had to come to terms with myself and really ask myself, why was I pro-choice? And what's different about a 3-month-old fetus that has no attachment to anybody, but is a living part of, you know, their carrier, their mom, and then a 3-minute-old child is really no different in terms of, other than development, is really no different in terms of having experienced anything else in the world. So again, I'm not here to crusade for pro-life. I'm just saying it caused me to rethink things. The part where I want to be fair to the pro-choicers, um, again, this topic is something that is not there's usually not a shrug of the shoulders and say, I really don't care. People are usually pretty passionate about this topic. So much so that there have been folks that have gone out and killed doctors that perform surgeries or procedures, I guess, on pregnant women. And that's kind of the crazy part of the thing too, because these folks, you talk about saving lives, and then here you are ending lives. It boggles the mind. And to those people that are so pro-life and want to raise their flag and say, they know and this and that, I got to remind you that, abortion at this point in time in our country is legal, just like every other law. So it's a law that's passed and it's legal, and the Supreme Court of our country has made it so. So if you're unhappy with that law, the same way people are unhappy, are so passionately unhappy with our president, I'm not saying everybody, I'm saying the people that are, then take action and go do what you need to do and bring awareness to it and change that policy if you're so against it. But don't chastise your fellow Americans because they think differently than you do, and they are doing something that by the letter of our country is legal. So and I found, it's funny that a lot of the folks, I like to kind of point the thumb, and I hate hypocrisy, right? But a lot of the folks that, because it's another topic that people are passionate about, is guns and gun control. But a lot of the folks that are pro-gun cite our Constitution and the Second Amendment right to bear arms. Again, they're citing a legal statute. I have to remind you folks, abortion is absolutely legal in this country. So I have enough issues in my life and trying to survive and keep my family and my world afloat that I don't have time to try to run someone else's life or agenda or things like that. I have a pretty simple philosophy that says, look, if the person can look themselves in the mirror in the morning, that's the only person they have to live with. And that means in any person has demons of any sort, right? The alcoholic, the drug addict, the spousal abuser, the passive aggressive manipulator, whatever. We can't cure everybody. Not everybody's broke, but there are a lot of folks that are broke. But as long as they can look in the mirror and feel good about who they see, short of hurting children, then that's their business in my mind. So that's my opinion, my outlook, and again, just think about what I said as I wrap this up here, the first part. If you're a pro-choice person, ask yourself what makes a pro-choice. If you have a friend or know somebody that had a baby that was just an hour old and they chose to terminate that baby, I'm sure you'd be up in arms and see that as something severe. But what's different there? That's what triggered me, was these two kids from Jersey that went down to Delaware and did this. So again, it was just something that triggered me to question myself and ask myself, and it's changed the way I view things. You're free to think what you want to think. I'm not here to tell you what you should think. I'm not here to get mad at you or judge you if you think differently than I do. I'm just saying this was an event in life that caused me to see things from a different perspective, and that's what I'm trying to do today. So thanks for listening. I'm going to send a second video today because I want to touch on something that happened just a few months ago about abortion and education and children and so forth. So thanks, guys. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you in just a few seconds. Bye-bye.